The lanterns were brighter than the afternoon, and our toddlers' hands were sticky with sweet rice. A drumline rolled through the park, and you lifted them to see above the crowd. It was the first festival where both our families' stories could stand side by side. If you're here for parenting in multicultural relationships, you already know the first time your child sees their two worlds in one place can feel like the beginning of a bigger home. Back at the car, we buckled them in while the scent of grilled corn chased us down the sidewalk. They hummed a tune they didn't know they knew, a mashup of songs from our childhoods. That's when it clicked. Our job isn't to choose one culture. Our job is to teach a little human how to carry two with joy. We talk about moments like this on Whispered Hearts. English, because these choices grow silently into a child's hometown. Not an address, a way of belonging. Research shows that secure, predictable rituals give kids confidence, and therapists report that naming values out loud lowers anxiety for everyone. What's one value you want your child to feel in their bones by the time they turn 5? But there's something even quieter holding families together than any festival could show. Culture teaches love in accents, how to greet elders, how to laugh at the table, how to celebrate and mourn. When two cultures share one kitchen, you don't lose flavor. You learn to layer. What would your home sound like if both languages had a microphone? We started by mapping the week, not the year. Monday was story night in your language. Tuesday, my lullabies. Wednesday was call the grandparents, even if the connection crackled. We didn't chase perfection. We chased repetition. Have you noticed that small, steady rhythms calm a busy house faster than big, rare events? The benefits surprised us in everyday ways. Our child began to code switch with ease at the playground, offering a hello that made other parents smile. They learned to ask the vendor in our neighborhood market how their day was, and to say thank you in 2 languages without being prompted. Their world stretched without fear. Could the essence of your cultures ride along on errands and not just holidays? We also learned that bilingual brains like props. We labeled the pantry in both languages with little drawings so tiny fingers could read. We put color-coded magnets on the calendar for cultural days, even the small ones. Language moved from our mouths into their hands, and that made all the difference. What could you label tonight that would make your child grin and learn at the same time? But there's a curiosity that changes everything between seeing culture and teaching it. What if identity isn't a box to check? What if it's a garden to tend? Gardens need sun, shade, pruning, and patience. Which part of your child's cultural garden needs more light this month? Benefits look like confidence, not trivia. Research shows that kids who see their family's traditions reflected at home feel safer exploring the world. Therapists report that when parents connect rules to reasons, kids cooperate more. We translated manners into meaning. We greet Auntie first, because elders carried us before we could walk. Meaning stuck when rules slid off. Now, discipline and school habits. This is where many couples quietly tighten up. One of us grew up in a because I said so home. The other learned, tell me how you feel, as a default. The first time our child pushed the bedtime boundary, we looked at each other like 2 referees with different rule books. Have you noticed how a kid's tiny choice can expose your biggest difference? We paused in the hallway where nightlight shadows made the floor look like a soft river. We named our goals out loud: safety, respect, sleep. Then we picked one script we could both live inside. Clear boundary first, choice second, repair last. It's bedtime, 2 book options. Tomorrow we'll choose earlier. Boundaries didn't shrink our child. They framed their freedom. But there's something even gentler that protects discipline from turning into a tug-of-war. We agreed on a debrief ritual after hard moments. Tea on the couch, 12 minutes. No blame. What worked? Where did we talk past each other? We left with one tiny change for next time, like moving the basket of pajamas closer to the bed. Which small change would make your bedtime 6% easier? When our child started pre-K, we met the teacher with a simple flyer we printed at home. It had our child's name in both languages, pronunciation in big friendly letters, and a few cultural notes like holiday dates and food restrictions. We offered to read a story in class from our culture during the year. Schools are busy. They appreciate kindness that comes with tools. What gentle tool could you bring to your teacher next week? We also built a calm corner at home, not as punishment, but as a practice. A basket of board books in both languages, a small drum for steady beats, a weighted pillow, and a feelings chart with faces we drew ourselves. When emotions got loud, we didn't exile our child. We invited them to co-regulate. Calm returns faster when it gets company. Summer brought a fresh test. Cousins visited, and our child slipped into only one language because play is fast. We smiled and added invitations, not pressure. We suggested a secret spy code in the other language for hide and seek. We sang the clean-up song in both versions. By the end of the week, they were mixing like a DJ. If one language takes the lead in your house, what playful nudge could give the other a turn? Here's the curiosity spike between understanding and adapting. What if your child's first identity isn't half this, half that? What if it's whole them? Kids can carry more story than we expect, but they listen for the words we use on ourselves. We started saying both and out loud. Both languages. Both holidays. Both ways to be kind. Holiday season can be a minefield, so we turned it into a map. We chose 2 big celebrations a year to go all in on with visits, foods, and clothing. We circled smaller days with symbols on the calendar, then marked how we'd honor them at kid scale. A small craft, a story at bedtime, a snack with a name that carries history. Big and small both count when a child is measuring home, but there's something even softer that tells a kid who they are. Everyday manners. In one culture, we wait for the elder to start eating. In another, the host insists their guests begin first. We taught both and explained the why in kitchen-light language. We pause because we honor. We offer because we care. We let our child practice inviting with a tiny phrase that made grandparents beam. We also honored touch and space across cultures. One family gives generous hugs to everyone at the door. The other prefers handshakes or a slight bow. We wrote a script for our child that honored consent. Would you like a hug, a high five, or a wave? We role-played at home so the real door didn't feel like a test. Respect grew roots and didn't make anyone choose between worlds. Discipline styles still rubbed sometimes. One day, a relative corrected our child harshly in a way that matched their upbringing but clashed with ours. We thanked them for caring, and later we repaired privately. In our home, we use gentle words, even when we're firm. We followed with a specific invitation they could say next time. Please try, then I'll help. Modeling showed more than a lecture would. But there's a truth that kept our house kind when tempers got hot. Repair beats perfect. After a rough morning, we taught our child to draw a tiny mend note, a crayon heart with 2 stick figures and 1 line. Next time I will. We made our own mend notes for them to see. When grown-ups apologize, well, kids learn that strength and softness can be friends. Language strategies work best when they fit your actual commute, not your ideal schedule. We tried one parent, one language at first, and loosened it into zones when life got chaotic. Mornings leaned your language, bedtime leaned mine. Meals were a mix. We learned little scripts to prevent switch fatigue. Can you say it in Mum's words? Can you show Dad the word with your hands? Keep it playful. Curiosity opens mouths faster than correction. We stored culture at kid height, chopsticks next to forks, tiny teas next to juice, picture books on low shelves with titles our child could touch. We kept a culture basket near the couch with scarves, small instruments, and photos of elders at our age. On lazy Saturdays, our living room became a museum where the docent was for and delighted. School required allies. We found a librarian who loved multilingual story time and offered to donate one book each season. We joined a parent group that celebrated festivals with simple crafts rather than debates. When a classroom worksheet misnamed a holiday, we sent a gentle note with a "Did you know?" and a printable handout. Correction with gifts opens more doors. But there's something even more than school. Neighborhood. We picked a grocery store that stocked our spices and a park where our languages were regular guests. We taught our child to greet the shop owner and to say thank you to the auntie who always slipped them an extra tangerine. Community does more teaching than any script. Adolescence will bring its own weather. That's why we built trust early in small ways. We let our child see us learning each other's language, making mistakes, and laughing. We let them watch us disagree kindly about discipline and find a way back with tea and a plan. Kids copy patterns you think they don't notice. Make yours gentle and repair ready. Midway through the year, we added a practice that changed everything. Sunday, origin stories. We'd pick a photo off the wall and tell a 3-minute tale. The market where Grandma sold fruit as a teen. The bus route where Dad learned the city by smell and sound. The day we met at a language exchange with broken jokes and perfect hope. Stories made culture a person, not a list. Whispered hearts. English is your bench for moments like these. Not a rule book, but a safe porch light. If you've ever felt alone trying to balance firm with kind or tradition with freedom, you are not. This community holds both. What moment this week made you think, we're doing okay? Share it so someone else can breathe. Discipline and education decisions pop up at weird times. Homework fights at 6 p.m. Emails from teachers at 9 a.m. We used a simple triage. Safety now, sleep soon, school tomorrow. We solved what truly mattered first and let the rest wait for the hour with more patience. Some problems shrink if you feed them breakfast instead of midnight. There was a day the languages flipped. Our child comforted a friend using a phrase from your side that landed like a hug. We saw the teacher pause and smile. Culture is a toolkit, not a costume. Give your kids tools early and often. They will surprise you with the repairs they can do. We also practiced holiday pacing. Kids get overwhelmed fast by expectations. We chose one show and tell element per celebration, a song, a snack, or a story. The rest stayed gentle. After guests left, we asked our child for their favorite part and wrote it on a slip of paper for a jar. Rituals that end with reflection stick better than rituals that end with clean-up only. Some nights we disagreed about screens. One culture saw them as a school tool, the other as a treat. We made a simple screen recipe that both grandmas could follow. Educational content in either language first. Play next. Phones away during meals and in bedrooms. We printed it on the fridge in large, friendly letters. Consistency keeps peace cheap. Seasons changed our learning. In spring, we planted herbs from both cuisines in the same pot and taught the names. Rain made the soil smell like memory, and tiny fingers named each sprout like a friend. Summer evenings turned our porch into a language lab with neighbors and cold slices of watermelon. Autumn walks sounded like crunchy leaves and stories of festivals. Winter mornings held warm bowls and slow greetings that made the house hushed and brave. But there's a quiet place you must visit together. How will you handle moments when extended family pushes harder than your plan? We made a script that starts with gratitude and includes one firm line. Thank you for loving our child so much. In our house, we do. We repeated it calmly. People learned. Love stayed. Our child's school once scheduled a big test on an important cultural day. We wrote the teacher early. We offered context, an alternative, and a plan for catching up. We brought in a small snack for the class as a peace offering from our holiday table. The test moved. Not every ask will work. Many will when you pair clarity with kindness. We gave our child permission to choose when they were old enough to notice differences. Some years they wore traditional clothes to school on festival days. Other years they took a bracelet in a pocket. Identity is not a performance. It is a relationship. We told them that their belonging is not a scorecard. It is a home we are building together. Curiosity deserves a room, too. We kept a notebook titled Questions for Later, where we wrote the hard ones our child asked when time was tight. Why different rules with grandma? Why 2 names for an auntie? Why we don't eat certain foods in certain months? We returned to the questions on Sunday afternoon with snacks and patience. Kids remember being taken seriously. We measured progress by comfort, not vocabulary lists. Did our child invite friends to try foods from home? Did they correct a mispronunciation kindly? Did they relax in rooms full of difference without shrinking or performing? Those were our gold stars. We kept actual gold stars for potty training. When we stumbled, and we did, we used the same repair we want our child to use. Safety, empathy, specific action. We raised our voice. We were scared and tired. Next time, we'll breathe first and speak slowly. We're going to practice that now. We tied our promise to a behavior we could see and repeat. Kids believe patterns more than promises. Grandparents are a bridge and sometimes a storm. We Zoomed on Sundays, so faces stayed familiar. We sent art in the mail with both languages on the back. When a grandparent corrected in a style that made our child flinch, we later made a boundary with love. Please tell us when you see something. We'll handle the correction. Families find the middle when they see your middle is steady. Food carried more culture than lectures could. We made heritage dinners, once a month, complete with a story about the dish. Grandpa ate this after long shifts. Auntie sold this at the market to buy books. I learned this recipe sneaking tastes when I shouldn't. Memories seasoned the sauce. Our child licked history off their spoon without noticing. Libraries and parks joined the team. We asked for bilingual story hours and donated one favorite picture book when we could. We organized a low-lift cultural playdate at the park with 2 families and bubbles. No speeches, just games, snacks, and a new greeting word taped to a picnic table. Community grows from simple invitations. We kept a culture wall at kid height, postcards from relatives, photos of festivals, a map with string connecting cities to faces. We moved pieces around as our child asked. The wall changed like seasons. It told a steady story. You belong to more than one place, and that is not a problem to solve. It is a gift to unwrap slowly. There was a day our child got teased for their lunch. We stepped into the kitchen light that evening and named the hurt without dressing it up. Then we cooked the dish together. We wrote a note for the teacher and offered to read a short book to the class about foods from different homes. We taught our child a simple reply for the next time. It's okay if it's new to you. It's home to me. They practiced in the hallway with a smile that was small and strong. Middle of the year fatigue is real. So we created soft weeks, fewer activities, more home, rituals trimmed to fit smaller energy. We changed languages based on the easiest one to carry that day. We asked grandparents to tell silly stories rather than complicated ones. Soft weeks kept love from scraping on the edges of ambition. Finally, we wrote a family mantra and put it by the door. Gentle words. Both languages. Try again. We touched it on the way out like a team high five. It felt a little cheesy. It worked a lot. Mantras make hard moments shorter because your mouth remembers when your brain forgets. What's one tradition you hope your children will carry on? Tell us in the comments. Your idea might land in a kitchen 3 states away and become someone else's favorite hour of the week. This is how a community teaches each other to be brave and kind at the same time. Before we close, breathe. You are doing something tender and historic in a very ordinary living room. You are teaching a child to feel at home in more than one place. Whispered Hearts. English is here to remind you that every small practice counts, especially on days that look like laundry and leftovers. Which small practice will you try before Friday? Tonight, tuck your child in with a story that smells like cardamom or cinnamon. Sing the lullaby your grandmother loved, even if your accent wobbles. Set the breakfast table with 2 names for the same spoon, just because you can. Let identity sit down with you and pass the salt. Tomorrow, ask your child a question that opens a window. What did you notice about your friend's family today? How would we say that word at Grandma's house? Where should we hang the new picture from the festival? Keep questions light. Answers will grow heavier on their own when the time is right. And when you find yourself at the next festival or school play, watching your child wave and bow and grin in a single, seamless motion, let the joy land. You're building something that will outlive you. You're proving that we don't have to shrink to fit. We can expand to welcome. That's the work of parenting in multicultural relationships, and you are already doing it well.